an operation that continued quietly, secretly, and with great complexity for 20 years, without anyone noticing. It is considered the most dangerous and sophisticated espionage operation known to date. Neighbors, friends, and colleagues were shocked and couldn't believe it when they heard the news. Neither the CIA nor the FBI would have known were it not for the insider betrayal. In the heart of the Montclair, New Jersey suburbs, where smiles were exchanged between neighbors and friends, Richard and Murphy lived as the perfect American couple. Richard was a financial analyst, and Cynthia was a successful real estate agent, a perfectly successful and ideal American family. But behind this glittering American facade lay another truth, born in the Moscow chill decades earlier. Richard and Cynthia were none other than Vladimir and Lydia Gurieva, illegal agents of the Russian Intelligence Service, SVR. Their work didn't involve bombings or high-profile car chases. It relied on quiet secrecy, or in other words, sleeper cells that would be activated when needed. For years, their goal was to infiltrate American society with unparalleled subtlety and cunning. They stole the identities of people who had died in childhood and constructed a flawless, fabricated history. Cynthia's mission, was to cultivate relationships with high-level financial and political circles in New York, gathering seemingly insignificant information that, in fact, painted a complete picture of American policy. They used both old and new techniques, from messages written in invisible ink to wireless data exchanges as they sped past a Russian consulate vehicle. The operation was proceeding according to plan. It was an extraordinary success. Until everything changed due to a betrayal from within the Russian intelligence service itself. The real infiltration came from within. A high-ranking official was the one who tipped off everyone. Alexander Botev, a colonel in the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, SVR, was the deputy head of the department responsible for illegal agents. By virtue of his position, he knew all the details, the fake identities, residences, and encrypted communication methods of every member of the network known as the illegal program in the United States. He provided the CIA and FBI with information for years under a code name, allowing the Americans to monitor the Gurievs and the rest of the network, including Anna Chapman, whom we discussed earlier, for over a decade without their knowledge. In June 2010, the perfect operation turned into a movie nightmare. While the world was preoccupied with the World Cup, FBI agents were monitoring the house through holes in the fence and listening devices planted in the walls. We knew they were there, but we didn't know when time would stop. At the moment of the raid, the agents found no weapons or bombs, but rather shortwave radios and documents containing complex codes. The biggest shock was for their daughters, who discovered that night that their parents weren't American and that their entire lives had been nothing more than a business mission. It didn't end in a dark cell. It ended on the tarmac of Vienna Airport in a scene reminiscent of a Cold War movie. They were exchanged for other spies in the largest prisoner swap in decades. The most complicated aspect of this story is that they had two daughters, Katie and Jessica, during this time. The girls lived for 20 years believing that their father, Richard, and their mother, Cynthia, were of Canadian/British descent. They hadn't heard a single word of Russian spoken at home for 2 decades. Richard and Cynthia reverted to being Vladimir and Lydia and were received in Moscow as national heroes, but they left behind unanswered questions. How many ideal neighbors are still sending their reports right now? And were their familial feelings genuine or just part of protocol?